All right, so it was a successful return in the box score for Kevin Durant on Thursday with 31 points in 35 minutes, but knowing KD, it was unsuccessful without the win. So we're now joined by ESPN Nets reporter Nick Friedell, who was in Barclays last night. And Nick, Brooklyn got one of their stars back on the floor. Now that KD has returned, what's the feeling within the organization about getting their season back on track here?
Malika, they're just not sure because nobody knows for sure when Ben Simmons is going to be able to return. Nobody knows for sure when that vaccination mandate here in New York City is going to be rolled back and Kyrie can play in home games. And that's why that loss last night was so deflating. There were a lot of staff members walking out of that arena last night going, oh, man, because like you said, Kevin was awesome. Kevin looked like the Kevin Durant of old. He looked like a guy who hadn't missed a month and a half. He came back. He played at such a high level, and they still lost. So knowing that this game Sunday now in Boston is hugely important because Kyrie will be there. Those two can play together for the first time in almost 2 months. But the reality for the Nets is nobody knows exactly when they're going to be whole.
Absolutely. And there was a couple of chances that they had down the stretch. That three-pointer that was halfway down for Kevin Durant, with the floater off the front rim. But the obligatory question, Nick, I know you touched on it. The Nets, they're still awaiting one more piece to make their debut in Ben Simmons. So when might we see him in a Brooklyn Nets uniform?
Malika, it's still at least a few more weeks away. I think this back issue was a little more serious than they thought. People have to remember something. Simmons still hadn't been cleared for practice at all. So he had been doing some individual work, and his teammates had been getting to know him a little bit, but he hadn't gone through anything in a team setting. Sean Marks, the Nets GM, gave an interview to Yes Network last night, and he said the hope is that Simmons can join team activities at the end of next week. But you have to remember, he's missed over 9 months now. He hasn't played an NBA game, and he's got to ramp up getting into practice, learning the system, and getting comfortable with all his new teammates. The key to remember, though, is physically, Simmons is having some issues with his back. Mentally, KD said this yesterday, he feels like Simmons is in a great place up here.
Right.
And that is crucial given what happened at the end of his tenure in Philly. But as far as when he'll make his Nets debut, it feels like it's at least a few more weeks off.
Well, and when he does, we know who will be in the building. That would be you, Nick Friedell. Thank you so much for joining us on NBA Today. Really appreciate you, my friend. All right, now the Nets, they have 18 regular season games left on the schedule. So they travel to red-hot Boston on Sunday, where presumably Durant and Kyrie Irving will be reunited for the first time since KD's absence. So Irving, he only has 7 more games on the schedule that he's actually eligible to play in as of right now. So it seems like at least some of Brooklyn's hopes, right, they may hinge on getting Ben Simmons back into the mix. So when he is back in the mix, Matt, how do you expect that to maybe raise this team's ceiling?
I think it's going to raise the ceiling drastically. Again, this is one of the best young players. People forget how quickly talented he is. I mean, although he had some issues, this guy's an all-star, first-team, all-defense, and he's really a nightmare coming downhill with the ball. Now you put KD and Kyrie on both sides of him, Seth Curry. I mean, the floors are going to be so spaced. He's going to really be able to eat and do what he does. Again, he's not too worried about getting his shooting touch back. That's not necessarily his game. And then again, the immediate impact is going to be on the defensive end. Someone who's 6'9", that can guard anyone on the floor and really shut them down. So I'm excited just to see him. He's been through so much mentally. He stood his ground in Philly. He was not going to play. He didn't play, lost money. But I think once he's able to get back out there, we're going to see, the old Ben Simmons as far as an all-star and a monster on defense.
Absolutely. I do want to bring Zach Lowe into this conversation with us because I am curious, Zach, do you believe that the ceiling will raise significantly when Ben Simmons comes back, especially given that the games he's going to be able to play in the regular season, it gets fewer and fewer every day?
Malika, I'm tired. I'm tired of the Nets. I'm sad. I'm sad that we just continue to have this if, when, believe, hope, ramp up, ramp down discussion about the Nets. Sometimes I wonder, have I been imagining this whole era of Brooklyn Nets basketball? Has it been a figment of my imagination? I don't know what this team is anymore. But look, Matt's right. When Ben Simmons comes back, he's an incredible fit with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. He's an all-defense level player. He'll get them open threes galore. They don't need him to handle the ball or shoot late in games. They have great three-point shooters all around him. I guess I'm at the point now where it's kind of like wake me up when this team exists as a real thing, because in actual life, they're 500 and at risk of not making the playoffs. And if Ben Simmons is what did Nick just say? Weeks away?
Yeah, that's
weeks
the regular
is what we
season.
have left in the season. That's it. There's no more time.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree, Zach, and I was going to play on the time because the idea was March 10th. That was the date because of the Philly game and a lot of...
Come on.
No, but we know that that's not happening, right?
Right.
And so now it's weeks away. Well, they ain't got that kind of time, boss. KD has come back largely because he's been summoned. They know that when he was, and I think Matt said it earlier in the show, when he played earlier alongside James for some of those games, there were 1 or 2 in the East. Now his team is slipping all the way to the play-in. And he's literally, can you imagine, the best player, one of the best players and scorers, is buying time for his teammates, buying time for circumstances to change for Kyrie, buying time for Ben to feel more comfortable so that he can play. I'm excited. You're right. I'm tired, boss. I am definitely tired about Brooklyn. I'm tired about Los Angeles, the Lakers.
Yeah.
But the reality is, Kevin Durant is correct. When they asked about how quickly can you build that chemistry, he said it could take a game, it could take 20. We all know if those 3 come together, it's probably on the shorter end of the spectrum than the longer, and that will be exciting.
Well, it needs to be on the shorter end of the spectrum than the longer. They don't have this kind of time. And look, when I look at the top of the East right now, when I look at the Milwaukee Bucks, when I look at the Miami Heat, those teams should scare you.
Oh,
those
yeah.
are scary teams. The way that they're constructed now, they are scary.
I
Matt's
completely
not scared,
agree.
Angel.
No, I agree with you guys, but I'm thinking a healthy, full Nets team is scary for anybody. And on the flip side,
But will they get there? Shouldn't
Right,
you be
good
more
question.
scared of the Miami Heat that are
Fully
whole
loaded.
and that are
Agreed.
resting players and
Agreed.
still
Winning.
beating Brooklyn
Agreed.
as they're currently constructed,
And-
which could be the Brooklyn that we
PJ,
see
no
in the
Jimmy,
future?
no Kyle.
Shouldn't you be afraid of Drew Holiday and their ability to beat the Miami Heat, by the way, after being down by double digits? Shouldn't you be afraid, I know 2 of the games were against the Knicks, of the Philadelphia 76ers and how they're presently constructed? So I'm with Zach. Wake me up later.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.